Comics Recapped here. Today I'll be explaining a comic called Batman, 3 Jokers. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Batman came home with a cut on his side. Alfred cut Batman's suit off and stitched him up. Batman's body was filled with cuts and bruises from all the battles he faced. He remembered the night with his parents in the theater and how they were shot in an alley. Suddenly, a news report came, saying Joker killed the last member of the Moxon crime family. Elsewhere, Barbaro was running on a treadmill when the news said that Joker had killed a comedian named Kelani Apaka. Barbaro got off the treadmill and headed for the showers. The report gave her flashbacks of when Joker shot her twice, which left scars on her back. Meanwhile, Red Hood was fighting with a couple of Joker's goons. News was again reported that Joker was sighted at the chemical facilities, and bodies were discovered. Red Hood was clotheslined and pinned to the ground by the goons. This gave him flashbacks of when Joker bashed his skull with a crowbar. Red Hood punched the goons and got up. He hammered the goons while asking where the Joker was, but they wouldn't answer. The commissioner and his men were in Ace chemical facility investigating the 3 bodies. They were confused as the killing of the Moxon family member, the comedian, and the chemical facility happened simultaneously, which meant there was more than one Joker, or the killers were impersonating Joker. Batman arrived and took a close look at the bodies. He determined the bodies were unidentifiable since chemicals were used to burn their fingerprints, corrupt their DNA, and cause nerve damage. Batman told them Joker was trying to distract them with the bodies so they wouldn't notice the truck that contained the chemicals to become Joker was stolen. Batgirl arrived and told them the Joker left an eyewitness and looked into every surveillance camera in the facility as if he wanted to be seen. Suddenly, one of the bodies grabbed a police officer asking for help. They rushed the body to an ambulance, and Batman and Batgirl escorted them to the hospital. The ambulance suddenly swerved. Red Hood was inside interrogating the man, asking where the Joker was. Batman immediately got off his car and busted inside the ambulance. He told Red Hood to let go of the man as he has been poisoned by the Joker and is in danger of a cardiac arrest. Batgirl destroyed the ambulance's tire and stopped it. Elsewhere, the stolen truck arrived at the cabin in the woods. A Joker known as the Clown drove it and met with the 2 other Jokers, the comedian and the criminal. Batman administers an antidote to Joker's victim, which nullifies the toxin. Batgirl confronted Jason and asked what he thought he was doing. Jason replied by saying he was trying to get information on Joker's location. He added that the man inside the ambulance wasn't a victim since he had a rap sheet that included harming his child. Batman joined in and told them the sudden events only proved that Joker isn't working alone. Meanwhile, the 3 Jokers were discussing their next move. The criminal told the 2 that they would be making a better Joker. He said one of them would prepare the factory while the other would help him find candidates to be the new Joker. The criminal tossed a coin to determine who would be doing what. Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood arrived in Gotham Aquarium, following a lead they got from one of Joker's goons that Red Hood fought. The 3 entered the aquarium and saw that all the fish in the tanks were smiling, even the shark. Batgirl determined this was one of the places they were storing the chemicals. Jason's helmet sent out an alarm that multiple people were coming their way. Suddenly, Gaggy, Joker's former sidekick, appeared with several of Joker's goons. They fired at Batman and the others, making Batgirl and Jason retaliate. Gaggy attacked Jason from behind, which made Jason retaliate by shooting at him. Gaggy ducked, and the bullet hit the aquarium behind him, causing it to break. The shark was released and immediately gobbled Gaggy up. They thought the fight was over when the clown suddenly appeared and bashed an aquarium on Jason's head. Batman immediately punched him, and Batgirl threw him to the ground. Batgirl asked Batman if this was the real Joker. Batman ignored her since he could not confirm it himself, so instead, he called Jim to report what happened. Jim told him that they cornered another Joker on Broadway. Batman walked out to assist Jim and told Jason and Batgirl to tie up the clown. He told them to do a search to make sure he didn't do anything sneaky. Jason took a closer look at the clown and said he seemed different from the Joker he remembers. He said this Joker seemed thinner. Suddenly, the clown used his flower to shoot a beam at Jason. Batgirl grabbed Jason and moved him out of the way. The clown laughed and insisted he was the real Joker. He then insulted Jason, saying the reason he let Jason live was to hurt him again when he recovers, and as a result, he'll hurt Batman also. This triggered Jason and made him point a gun at the clown. Batgirl tried to calm Jason down and put the gun away. The clown kept mocking him, saying the only way he cared about was hurting Batman. Jason was nothing to him. The clown brought up how Jason begged for mercy and even offered to be Joker's Robin when he was beating him with a crowbar. Jason snapped and pulled the trigger. Batgirl tried to stop Jason but was too late. The clown was dead. The comedian entered his house when his wife greeted him and told him that dinner was ready. He then kissed his wife's cheek and asked where his son was. His wife went to the stairway to call their son, who reluctantly joined them for dinner. The comedian was cracking up jokes while eating dinner with his family when the criminal interrupted him. It was all pretend. The criminal told him that none of it was real and they should be planning for Batman. Elsewhere on Broadway, Jim saw two dogs infected with the toxin inside the apartment where the supposed Joker was. Batman entered the apartment and sedated the dogs. Jim followed, and they soon found a dead body inside and determined it was Judge Walls and not Joker who they saw. Batman said the judge was exposed to the toxins before his dogs mauled him. Batgirl appeared and said she needed to speak to Batman privately. While the two of them were driving, Batgirl told Bruce that Jason had killed one of the Jokers and asked what he would do about it. Bruce was silent. Batgirl kept looking for answers, so Bruce told her they couldn't do anything because if they arrested him, they would have to stand trial as witnesses and be forced to unmask. Batgirl kept insisting they had done something since Jason killed a human being. Bruce told her to understand him, that Jason, unlike her, got more violent as he healed from his near-death experience with Joker. He added that he thought Jason was dead, which was why he wasn't able to help him during his recovery. Batgirl grew quiet, then told Bruce to make Jason put his guns away. Bruce told her he'd tell him. Meanwhile, Jason was interrogating another one of Joker's goons, asking him where the Joker stored the other chemicals. The man didn't answer, but the hood had already picked up its location. Batman and Batgirl headed to Blackgate Penitentiary. Batman told her he examined Judge Wall's body before the police arrived and found out that the judge was bludgeoned with his humanitarian award before his dogs killed him. He then examined the award and found a fingerprint belonging to Joe Chill. Batman walked the prison halls and arrived in front of Joe Chill's cell. He saw flashbacks of the night when Joe Chill shot his parents in the alley. Batman called Joe, saying they needed to talk. When Joe didn't answer, Batman kicked the door and stepped inside the cell. It was empty. Batgirl arrived and told him Joe was moved because he was sick. Batman went to the Blackgate Hospital wing to see Joe. Joe was sleeping with a tube attached to his mouth. It turns out that Joe had a terminal illness and only had weeks to live. Batman was puzzled. It would mean somebody visited Joe to replicate his fingerprints and put it on the humanitarian award. But before they could think, Jason accessed the Bat computers from his helmet, which allowed Alfred to locate him. Jason went to an abandoned pool and broke its locks. He went inside the building and drew his gun. When Jason reached the pool, he saw a lot of bodies floating in what seemed to be a pool of toxins. He tried to contact Batgirl when suddenly a hand grabbed his leg. A man got up from the pool asking for help. Jason aimed his gun, but he was grabbed from behind by the two Jokers. The Jokers stripped Jason and tied him up in a room. The criminal told Jason that he should have been arrested if Batman hadn't turned him into Robin. Jason told them he didn't care, and that he would kill them once he's out of the restraints, just like how he killed the other Joker. The comedian started laughing, and the two Jokers put on Jason's mask on him. They changed Jason's mask and put a huge smile on it. The criminal told Jason they were alike. They both hated a lot of people, especially Batman. He also described how he would have been a good fit to become the next Joker, but they had a better candidate in mind. The comedian suddenly took a crowbar and smashed it on Jason's head. Batman and Batgirl entered the building but was quickly surrounded by hundreds of infected men. They both fought, but the enemy was far greater in numbers and was starting to overwhelm them. The enemy took Batman's belt and luckily pressed the button that summons the Batmobile. It charged inside the building, running its opponents over like billiard pins. Batman searched the building and found a door at the corner. He opened it and found Jason lying on the ground, all tied up. They released Jason, and he immediately lashed out at Batman saying it was his fault for putting him on this path. Batgirl calmed Jason down by embracing him. Barbara let Jason rest in her apartment. Batman left, saying he had more leads to look into. A few minutes went by and Jason woke up from his sleep. He saw the things inside Barbara's room and how she worked hard to recover from her injury. Barbara entered her room and saw Jason. He asked how she was able to recover as she did. Barbara told him that she tried to look at the positive side of things, and her father helped her a lot. Jason didn't have that support during his recovery. Barbara told him that everybody thought he had died, and had they known he was alive, they would all have been there to help him. Jason was stunned at what she said, and as they both stared at each other, they kissed. Barbara shrugged it off and told Jason it was just a moment. Meanwhile, the comedian snatched Joe Chill and tied him to a chair. He took a camera and started recording, asking Joe why he killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. Bruce placed pictures of the different Jokers on a table. He told Barbara and Jason that the three Jokers were snatching people to create a better Joker. Based on what they told Jason, the three Jokers were looking to create a Joker with an identity behind the smile. Jason corrected Bruce, saying only two Jokers were left as he killed the other one, something Bruce couldn't do because he was afraid of being unmasked in a court trial. This angered Bruce and made him lunge at Jason. Barbara separated the two and calmed them down. Bruce got back to business, saying out of all the Jokers created, the ones remaining were the three they were facing, and the original Joker was possibly within them. Bruce also said the original Joker might have just created the other Jokers to hide his identity. Barbara asked if Bruce had anything more to add. He told Jason he was sorry, but Jason shrugged it off and said he only wanted Joker defeated. Alarm bells rang as there was a fire on Blackgate. Batman went there and was told by Jim that Chill was taken. Batman entered Chill's cell, where he found written letters addressed to him. He wonders why the letters were never mailed. Outside Blackgate, Jason tried apologizing to Barbara for killing the clown. Barbara told him that he put her and Batman in a tough spot because of what he did, and if he did it again next time, she would not hesitate to unmask. Batman went to Reverend Evans to ask about the letters. The Reverend told him that Joseph Chill regretted what he did to the Waynes and wrote letters to Bruce Wayne apologizing. Batman said Chill was repenting because he got sick. The Reverend told him that Chill wrote those letters even before he got sick. Batman noticed a letter that was addressed to Batman. He opened it and saw tickets to watch the movie Zorro in Monarch Theater, where Bruce and his parents were before the tragedy. Batman rushed to Monarch Theater along with Jason and Batgirl. The three of them reached the theater and entered at different entry points. Batman was in the cinema room when a film played on screen. The film showed Joe Chill being asked by the comedian why he killed Thomas and Martha Wayne. Meanwhile, Jason and Batgirl were being smothered by a wave of Jokers dressed like movie theater workers. Both of them were trying to fight them off. Batman, on the other hand, was confronted by the criminal who was standing on a platform above the stage, holding Joe Chill captive. The criminal told Batman he considered using Barbara and Jason to become the better Joker, but he ultimately chose the killer, Joe Chill. Batman used his Batclaw to get up to the criminal, and while this was happening, the film of Joe was playing in the background, saying he regretted killing the Waynes, since they were helping the marginalized people of Gotham. The criminal opened his coat, revealing dynamites wrapped around his body. He told Batman that he wanted to create a better Joker, so that he'd be more to Batman. He wanted Joker to be everything for Batman. On the other hand, Batgirl was fighting the Jokers when the Joker in front of her was suddenly shot. She thought it was Jason, but it turned out to be the comedian. Jason was also fighting his own battles using his gun to subdue his opponents. The criminal placed Joe above a boiling pot of toxins, while Jason went to Batgirl to help her out. But the comedian was behind him and shot him in the shoulder. Batgirl lunged at the comedian and bashed his face with his camera. The criminal pulled out a Tommy gun and shot at Batman. Unfortunately for him, one of his bullets hit a wire supporting the platform he was standing on, causing him to lose balance and drop his lighter on the pot of toxin. Batman used this opportunity to kick the criminal in the face. When the lighter hit the pot, it exploded. It was absolute chaos. The criminal got back on his feet, took out a knife, and sliced the rope holding Joe. This sent Joe falling to the pot, but Batman used his Batclaw to catch Joe and swing back to kick the criminal, sending him outside the theater. Batman had Joe cornered in a brick wall. Joe whimpered, saying he knew who he was, and asked if he was going to kill him. Batman said no, and Joe thanked him for that. The criminal stood up, but was suddenly shot by the comedian in the head. The comedian surrendered himself to Batman, and the fight was over. Batman accompanied Joker on his way to prison. Batman asked him what he wanted, and the comedian told him he disagreed with what the two other Jokers wanted. He added that he planned everything that happened, since he was the one who convinced the criminal to use Joe as the better Joker, knowing Bruce would interfere and save Joe. He finished by saying he made Bruce save Joe and forgive him, so that Bruce would heal his greatest wound, and Joker would become his greatest pain. Bruce visited Joe and made amends with him before he died, while Jason taped a letter outside Barbara's apartment, saying he wanted Barbara to give him a chance to fix himself and take care of her. But sadly, the tape got detached and fell to the floor, which the floor janitor swept. Bruce told Alfred he knew who Joker was a week after he met him. Alfred was shocked, but Bruce told him no one must find out because if people knew, the media and the Joker himself would come after his wife and child. Bruce said the Joker's identity wasn't important, and it will never be.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.